Hello, friends, and welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. My name is Scott Cowan, and I'm the host of the show. Each episode, I have a conversation with an interesting guest who is living in or from Washington State. These are casual conversations with real and interesting people. I think you're going to like the show. So let's jump right in with today's guest. Well, we're going to jump right in. I am with the operations manager for Remlingers. I'm going to say it right one of these days. I said it right all along, and I can't do it. It's kind of my usual. I warned you about this, Nathan. And the operations manager, Nathan Sherfey. Nathan, you are the grandson of the original founder, if you will, of Remlinger Farms out there in Carnation. I remember the farm from when I had young kids, and the kid's mom grew up out in that area, and we would go out there, and things have changed a lot. First off, that was before you were born. And so please, I'd like you to introduce yourself. Like I told you before, we got two introductions I need from you. One is your background, and then let's talk about the farm's origin story, and then we'll get into today's stuff. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
You say that now, but by the time we're done, you might be happy to leave.
Yeah. So you want me to start with a little bit of my background?
However you want to do it. Yeah. Let's start with you.
Yeah. So I grew up in Chehalis, Washington, went to a high school, WF West, had a great time there, played sports, graduated as valedictorian 4.0, and then went on to play college basketball at Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. And had a great 4 years playing there and also learning, going to school. Got a double major in economics and business. And then they have a MBA program right across the street. And so I went and got my master's in finance and entrepreneurship. And nice. Now then the last 5 years, I've been working with my grandpa who started Remlinger Farms and taking that over.
Well, let me ask you this question. So is working for your grandfather the first job out of college?
No. I started really young. Now my first real job was right when I turned 16. I started working for McDonald's, and then worked at GNC, worked for State Farm, Coastal Community Bank. I had multiple different jobs, but even at a young age, I think I was 12, I got really involved in stocks. And a guy in town, his name was Sean Kirk. He actually passed away not too long ago, but he was an Edward Jones advisor. And I would spend an hour, two after middle school with him learning stocks and everything. And he got me so involved at an early age. Something called Facebook came up when I was in 7th grade, and I bought a lot of it. So I can't thank him enough.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got to ask this question. So mom and dad, were they, I can imagine, a young Nathan coming to mom and dad and pitching, hey, I want to buy stock in this company. Well, what's it called? Facebook. Well, what is it? Well, it's this place where everybody's going online.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I can imagine the dinner table might have been an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I was already a weird kid. I never wanted Christmas gifts or birthday presents. At a young age, I was always saying I just want money. And they're like, what are you going to do with it? Put it in my bank account. And they're like, do what? And nothing. Until actually it was my grandfather, the one for Remlinger, Gary. I want to say I was maybe 8 years old or something. And he bought me my first ever stock. It was a stock in Disney. And I had no idea. I was like, so I can own a share of a company. And at the time when I'm a little kid, I thought one share of Disney, I thought I was rich.
You were the Monopoly guy, the top hat on. That's awesome.
Zero idea there's billions of shares issued in that company. So I got involved really early. And so I was fascinated by it. Now, saved up my bank account, all this stuff. I think by the time I was in 8th grade, I had $2 or $3 grand saved up, some in the market, some in my bank account. and started working for Sean, Edward Jones. And for like 6 months, he's teaching me diversify. All of a sudden, Facebook comes out and he's like, our company is going heavy in this. I'm putting almost like 30-40% of my portfolio into this Facebook company. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. He's like, no, I'm actually going to take all your money and put it into it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. He's like, no, trust me, you'll like it. I'm so glad he made me do that.
Wow. So do you remember what you bought Facebook at?
It was, I think like $20 or something like that.
Yeah. That was some really solid advice.
Yeah.
Do you still have the Disney share?
I actually do.
That's cool.
I recently did, like, I bought this house actually and had to sell a lot of my stock. So I sold most of it. There's only a little bit of stock I have left in my account right now, but one of them is still that Disney share. I don't know if I'll ever sell it.
No, man, you should make them give you a stock certificate, order, the old school paper stock certificate and hang it on the wall. That'd be cool. All right.
That would be.
So you were you were a nerd as a kid, and I mean that in a complimentary way. I can't imagine in middle school your friends were hanging out at the Edward Jones office with you. I really think that's a really cool story. And so you graduated with a 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
You went on to Willamette. You got an MBA as well. And now you're at your grandfather's farm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because for people that are unfamiliar with the farm, which might be somebody who's listening to this outside of the state of Washington, but most of our listeners are Washington state residents. And if you're in the Puget Sound region, I think most everybody knows the name. Eastern Washington, maybe not, maybe so.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go through the story. Your grandfather started it. What was his motivation?
Yeah, well, I mean, he started it with his dad. His dad was a farmer. He was a farmer. Loved that whole being outside, hard work, that sort of old school hardworking ethic. So no, at the time, his vision was just he wanted to be a farmer. He wanted to grow crops. He wanted to eat his own food. He wanted to sell it. He just loved being outside and working.
Okay.
So that was really what he started as. Now that vision changed with a lot of things that happened.
I thought I read somewhere what we consider Remlinger Farms now started with your grandfather selling sacks of corn on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He sold sacks of corn on the road. He actually even sold in high school. He was selling before they even started Remlinger Farms. He planted a bunch of like rose bushes everywhere, and he would travel the state of Washington up and down selling roses. He would ride around on his bike, and like during Valentine's, Christmas, those times, he would be like out at stores knocking on people's door selling bouquets of roses for like their husbands' wives to give. So
he was really, we've got this, the hustle culture and the grind culture and all that, but he was pounding the pavement in shoe leather. I mean, he was out there working and hustling, and sounds like you kind of inherited some of that from your early start too.
Yeah, I like to think I did. He actually, he always tells a story. No, I don't know, because I can't back it up, but I'm going off his word. He was, at the time, because he was selling all corn and roses, he was the only one in his high school that bought his own car. And not only did he have one, he had 2 cars in high school, and just from him selling roses and corn. And
was that in Carnation?
Yep. Back in Carnation. Yeah. And we're talking, that's 1940. Yeah.
Well, no, wait a second. Your grandfather's still alive, right?
Yeah. He's 80 years old.
So if he's 80, so we got to go back,
Yeah. So 80, I guess we go back. So yeah.
That's almost the 50s, man.
It's actually 50s. You're right.
Yeah. That's almost not to correct you, but that's almost the 50s.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You're right. If this story is true, and since we're recording it, it's now true. Right. It's, the old joke, it's Facebook official. Well, okay. Anyway, that's amazing that in the late post World War II, that he would have been the only student in his school. Now, Carnation was a farming community back then and all of that. So, I mean,
his school, he always tells me, I think he graduated with 8 people as his class. I think 8 people is his class. I think in their school, they maybe obviously they had probably around 40 for class, like from 9th grade to 12th grade. So they probably had 40, under 50 people probably at their school.
I just published an episode with a social studies teacher at Wenatchee High School.
Okay.
I asked him, and they have over 2,000 students this year at that high school. So that's 40 to 2,000. Like, that's crazy. Awesome. So he does this. He's got 2 cars. He's entrepreneurial. I say hustle with a compliment. I think a lot of people that word just gotten worn out by people, but he was hustling. He was working hard. Another thing I read is the farm was about 350 acres.
Yeah, more around 300 acres. There's been some pieces we've sold over time. So at one point, yeah, you're right.
So it was about 350 we'll say to start, if you will, then. Yeah. And now it's around 300.
Yep.
Okay. Of that 300, how much of that is in actual production?
Meaning what exactly?
Are you still growing crops?
Yes.
Okay. So of the 300, about how much is under production for crops?
Yeah, I would say what's probably getting grown, it's probably there's 120 acres, 100 to 120 acres of still agriculture going on.
And what are you? Well, not you. Well, maybe you are. But what are you growing these days?
Yeah, so right now we are solely growing corn, pumpkins, strawberries, and raspberries.
Okay.
Those 4. Yeah.
Okay. Over the years, what other crops was your grandfather growing there?
We're talking everything. He grew things from carrots to hay. Still we do feed, like hay feed, everything.
Okay.
Christmas trees he grew.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Blueberries was popular. He always did that. Okay. Yeah. We're talking. I'd have to ask him, but he's grown a lot.
Okay. I'd be interesting. I love to ask this type of question to people, like, so what didn't work out? Because I think we learn from, like, well, we planted asparagus and it just didn't work because, but we changed from asparagus to blueberries, and that's when we skyrocketed. So I'd be curious what he might have tried over the years that just didn't take off.
Yeah, well, I can tell you why we don't grow blueberries anymore. Where we had a different location where we did grow them, we get this kind of wind draft through the valley, and where we're kind of at, it actually kind of freezes a little bit. And so it would always destroy the blueberries in the early mornings and freeze them, and they wouldn't be good. And then Christmas trees, he actually had like a flood come in, and Christmas trees, you grow them, and it's not till like years later they're when they're ready to pick.
Marketable.
So when a flood came, it's not like it killed any of them, but it put mud on all of them. And so then they were basically like unsellable. And so it took tons of work to like wash the trees and do all this stuff to try to sell them. And so Gary basically, he said after that happened, he's like, we're letting these ones grow, we're selling these ones, and we're getting out of this business. I can't risk like this happening again.
Would never have thought that a Christmas tree farm and a flood would be it's just, all right.
Yeah.
What I remember of when I took my kids there, and so this would be 25 years ago or so, was very family friendly, very kid centric. My kids loved going there. My kid's mom remembered it as that way when she was a kid. So boom, boom, boom. Okay. What was his vision when he first started the farm and to open it to the public and be this? What was his vision?
Yeah. I can tell you about how it came to, like, he started opening to the public, but yeah, once he started opening to the public and people really started coming, and how he kept growing it, he really just wanted like it to be an experience for everybody to like get outside, come see a farm. There were a lot of our customers were people like from Seattle who weren't really, their outside was just a walk around the park. They've never really actually been to a farm, a working farm, and seen how everything works and the smells and everything that go along with the farm.
Right. I saw a news story one time. It was about probably a late elementary, early middle school age kid in New York City who had never seen a cow in real life before. You know, I mean, it just, we grow up. I mean, I grew up in the kind of the Tacoma area, and my neighbors had cows and all that, and on 5 acres, not something big, but I never really thought about somebody who grows up in a city, like even Seattle, right? Like, where do carrots come from?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're not necessarily growing a bunch of carrots at that time, at least, you know, back in Green Lake around Seattle. So he wanted to do this for an experience. And he was, I mean, from the visual outward signs, he was successful at that. He was almost, you know, before his time as far as the whole agro-tourism type thing that's prevalent now.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to this, but I'm going to jump.
Okay.
So when I was on the website today, I see kind of I'll call it a roller coaster, but it's not one of those things you see like at Disneyland. I mean, it's a roller coaster, right? You got a brewery there now.
Yep.
Thought I read a blurb about the brewery might've been your idea.
So actually, everyone thinks that because, like, of course, a kid that right once they get out of college, of course, he's going to start a brewery, a bar, something like that. It was actually Gary's idea. I've been able to really like help him like and encourage these ideas for him to actually do. He actually had that for a long time, and he was telling me about one of these days. I was like, that's a great idea. So he has tons more ideas. I can't wait to like keep on like building his future that he envisioned and for it to keep coming alive with him. But no, it actually was his idea.
That's actually kind of a cool twist on the story. But what I do know about, you know, opening a brewery is you got to jump through a lot of hoops. You have to like build it and commit to it with pretty significant financial outlay, and then get permission. Almost like you gotta like have it, can't use it, and then you got to come out and go, hey, will you approve this? And I've talked to other, you know, distillery owners in Washington State, you know, small distilleries, small brewers. That's got to be, to me, that's terrifying to like go and spend a lot of money on equipment, get it all configured, all set up, can't do anything with it. And so walk me through that. Was that one of the first projects you were involved with by chance? Yeah,
it was actually one of the first early ones that, again, Gary said, let's do this. I was like, great. And he's like, okay, I'm going to keep farming. You do it. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, oh, let's find this out. But no, you're 100% right. You cannot start the permit process or get approval until basically you've bought and ordered the equipment and it's like getting shipped or it's going to get shipped. Then it's crazy. You're like, can you guys deny me? And they're like, of course we can deny you. And you're like, but I bought all the equipment. So no, that's crazy. And I always joke, I know zero about brewing. Now I actually do know a lot, but when I first went, I mean, I went and visited. I went to like Stout Tanks in Portland, and I remember like going through and kind of shopping, and they're like, so this is our bright tank. And I was like, oh, cool. That's what makes the beer. And they're like, oh boy, like we have a live one. They were like, yeah, come here. Like, oh, he's going to buy everything. And like, luckily no one treated me that bad. Now they upsold me on a few things. Now that looking back, I'm like, I probably could have saved maybe 20 grand on this. Like, I did not need to buy this at all, but
right. That's funny.
So a crash course is definitely what happened in my brewery experience.
That's kind of an interesting way to get your feet wet in you know, on a project is to me that it's a complicated process of, you know, like you said, you gotta buy everything. You gotta, you know, and then you can ask for permission to use it. And
Yeah.
you know, so without going too deep into the weeds, how was the approval process? Was it pretty straightforward for you guys?
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically if you're zoned and everything, so you can do kind of those type of things, but then when it actually comes to the approval process, really is there's something called the TTB, and it's a federal permitting for like selling for like your distilling and your alcohol, wine. Everyone has to do it. And then you have to also get state approval. State is usually, if you're zoned, they're going to give it to you if you're following like code and everything. So you don't really have to worry about that. It's more of the federal permit of like, hey, I bought this equipment. Now I'd like to get my federal permit to do this. And they're kind of like, well, okay, fill this out. And you do everything and you're like submitting it. And they're like, hey, we'll get back to you in months from now. And you're like, what's going on? Like,
yeah. And don't bug us by the way, don't bug us because then we'll go slower. Oh my gosh. So when did the brewery open?
It opened basically the beginning of last year. So May of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And putting you on the spot, what's your favorite beer that you guys produce?
I mean, I still have I have baby taste buds. I don't like dark beers. I don't mean to if people that like.
That's okay. There's no wrong answer here. There's no wrong answer.
I like your Pilsners, your Kolsch. I love those type of beers. Those like summer ale type beers. Any of those, once we get past IPA into anything above.
So you're not a fan of porters or stouts?
No, stouts, porters. I can't do it. I can't do it.
You'll grow up. It's okay. So what are you guys currently brewing there?
Well, we're actually he's brewing all sorts of different things. So we have 20 different beers on tap at all times. And
all yours, all Remlingers?
All of ours. Yeah. So all across the board, he does a great job of I mean, we've had so many different beers, and there's always 3 or 4 he has ready to go. So once one's gone, that's not one of our staple, more popular ones.
Right.
We'll have a new one come in. But right now he's just finishing up. We have Oktoberfest coming up.
Right.
So he's been brewing all German style beers. So your Kolsch's, he has a Marzen, different things like that he's doing.
That's awesome. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you cut your teeth on a brewery.
Yeah.
What are you working on now?
Yeah, now we actually we partnered with Seattle Theater Group, and we were able to do a concert a few months ago called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards. They're an Australian band. I had no idea who they were. I was like, what is this band that they're bringing out? So we had 5,000 people a day. It was a three-day concert. So 15,000 tickets they had available that we had on our property. It sold out, I think, in 32 hours, all 15,000 tickets. I was like, what is this band? Just, I think on their they have their monthly listens for their band is $1 million a month, just a crazy diehard fan base. It was just amazing to see. Amazing people were at our place for that band. So we basically got through all the county permits and everything, and we're working with them right now to possibly have a concert venue here, be doing 10 to 15, maybe even 20 concerts a year. Can have up to 6,000 people here. So
that's a good sized venue. That's that's outdoors, right? It'll be an outdoor venue.
Yep. Nope, outdoors. Yep.
That's a really good sized venue to have.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. So how were the shows? I mean, did you go?
Oh yeah. I worked the whole time. I was
Did you enjoy it? Well, maybe not the work, but did you enjoy the music?
Loved it. It was great. I never thought I'd be never even heard of a band called King Gizzard and the Lizard, and why I would ever be a fan to them beats me, but they were a great band.
Awesome. Okay. So completely off topic, but so if that's not a name that would resonate with you musically, what do you listen to musically? Where do you tend to fall in the,
Yeah. I mean, I listen to all sorts of different ones. I mean, I think I love hip hop, pop. I mean, having the basketball world, you gotta listen to like rap. Like Drake is your number one guy. Like there's all sorts of different. You're listening to rap. I still love country, and I actually thought when you said like, what were you expecting? I thought for us being like a farm venue, like we're a farm,
right,
that we were going to have more of like country singers coming out here, not like the Grateful Dead type of music fans.
Is that what this band is like? Is kind of Grateful Dead-esque?
Very similar to that. Yeah.
Well, that's why they have the followers then, because
exactly,
I mean, the Grateful Dead, and I love the Grateful Dead, and I've seen them. I saw them, I don't know, 70 times.
Yeah.
And that genre of music has a very devout following of people who will travel and would love experiences to go along with the music. So coming out to Remlinger Farms would be a no-brainer. So good on Saddle Theater Group for picking that one.
Yeah.
And they do Saddle Theater Group does they do some great stuff.
Oh,
so
amazing. The more I've learned about, like, as I've worked with them, they're a great, amazing group of people, and smart people.
Yeah. I could hijack the show, but I won't. Okay. But you guys also, so you guys have, what I remember is like you guys sold pies and kind of had a farm store. You guys still have that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Still have all that.
But you also have a restaurant now. I don't remember a restaurant. It might have been, food, but I don't remember a restaurant.
Yep.
And you've got some amusement rides.
Yep.
You can host up to 5,000 people, let's say, for live music.
Uh-huh.
No blueberries or trees, or at least Christmas trees.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pinpoint what changed. How did you guys go from being, I don't want to say sleepy, I don't mean it like that, but a farm stand store entertainment concept, but to putting in like amusement rides and there's an arcade, a brewery. What prompted your grandfather? I mean, that's a big shift.
Yeah.
That's a big shift, and it's cool, but I want to know, and you've talked to him, what got him going this direction?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. I mean, so many people ask, they're like, why is there a roller coaster on your farm? So
why not, I guess would be a good answer, but
so basically, as I said, Gary was a farmer. That was all he wanted to be. And strawberries was like one of his go-to crops, and it was popular. And I don't want to name the store, but a store basically, kind of the big grocery outlet stores, they basically came to Gary and said they'd like to buy all of his strawberries. So he had however many acres. And so the first year they said, we want 100% of your product. He grew it all, loved it. They sold every single thing. So then they told him, hey, double your production. Doubled his production. And the next year sold it all. And so he did that. They kept saying, double your production, double your production. And he did that for like 3 to 5 years. And then they told him, double your production. So now he has a huge amount of acres growing strawberries, thinking that it's all going to be sold to this grocery store franchise. Yeah. And they basically said, we're not buying any of it that final year. And this is at the time where there wasn't much regulation, and these big stores, this is how they actually bought a lot of land, is they would kind of do these to farmers, and the farmers then would be caught because they obviously took out loans to buy all this, like the seeds and labor and all this, the equipment. And so he quickly had to figure out a way to sell all his product, and he has to still harvest it as well. And he was going around everywhere trying to piece together. He said he was only able maybe to like get 10% that he would be able to harvest and sell, because no one could get that much. And so He was kind of dead in the water. And he traveled around to other farms across the country. And I think it was like over in the East Coast and down in like Texas, he heard about some farmers doing something called U-pick. And yeah, you see where I'm going is he was actually the first farmer in the state of Washington to do U-pick strawberries. And people would come out, and now you're not paying nearly as much. Like, he wasn't selling the strawberries for that much, and people would pick it, come out, spend the whole day picking as many strawberries and then buying it, and it would be bought by the pound. And he sold all of his product. Now, he didn't make as much as he would that he would have sold it all to the one store, but he also didn't have as much of a labor cost because he didn't have to harvest it. And so everyone came out, and they're like, well, what else can we buy here? What else can we do? And people were bringing their children. And so I think it was like the second year he decided to do this again, because he still had all the crops, and strawberries, they usually last for about 3 to 5 years. So it's still going to be giving off strawberries the following year.
Right.
And kids were coming, and they're like, what can the kids do? They're bored out of their mind. And he had a little wagon on the back of his like tractor, and he said, well, throw them in the back and I'll take them around for a tractor ride. And he had like like the roses and the corn. He's like, well, I also grow this on the side, and you guys can buy this. So he now had basically people coming to the farm when no one was coming to the farm before.
Right.
And as you can see, the tractor rides. And then he's like, okay, this entertainment thing. Oh, also this market thing. I can sell whatever now that people are coming here. And you can see where it developed. And all of a sudden, like, I want to buy this little ride and just set it up and have kids jump on this inflatable little
bouncy house or whatever. Yeah. Like an old merry-go-round, if you will.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool. So when you were a kid growing up, did you go there much?
I did on the summer.
Right.
During the summers, I would basically go and live with them for 2-3 months during the summer. And it was basically my own little mini Disneyland, I like to say.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So when you were going to college, did you think that this would be where you'd end up?
No, not at all.
Okay. So how did this come about then? If you go to college, you got your MBA and all of that, and this isn't where you thought you'd end up, what brought you to here? Besides it being, it's your grandfather, but you guys, what was the conversation like? How did this all come about?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. What farmer has a master's in finance and now he's in the dirt, like planting crops, and like the dumbest decision ever. No, basically, COVID was starting to happen, and my grandfather really wanted my help, and he needed some financial help. Like, my financial background could really help him. And he basically said, hey, I had a job lined up in Everett, and also I kind of wanted to try my luck over in New York at Wall Street and see what I could do. And he basically convinced me not to do that, spend a year with him. And I always kind of wanted to, because I remember in my college, we would bring entrepreneurs and business people to speak to us, and tell us about how they started, what they did. And I remember thinking to myself, like, my grandfather is this person. I can just talk to him about this. I don't need to hear these speakers. Like, I have an amazing business owner grandfather who has done all this as well. So I think it was a combo of him wanting me there and me wanting to like pick his brain and like learn about his success and what he did, that I decided to drop everything and go be a farmer with him.
So that was supposed to be for a year. At least that was the sales pitch you just described.
Yeah.
So it's been more than a year. So what got you to stay? Do you like getting dirt under your nails? What is it? This isn't Wall Street. Carnation, Washington is not Wall Street. I don't know if you're aware of that yet, but downtown Carnation has nothing to do with downtown New York.
Yeah, no, I love being outdoors and working with him. I think that at the time, I think I was just kind of solely focused on maybe the money and things like that rather
Mhm.
than like the actual lifestyle. Being in a cubicle is now something I don't want to ever do. And so able to be like outdoors like all the time is it, hands down, I made the correct decision.
I I would agree with you. Having done my time in corporate, I would agree that I think the entrepreneurial way of making a living is so much more um, rewarding,
Mhm.
aggravating, all of the above on any given day. But it's you're building something that is a legacy. You know, you're enhancing your grandfather's legacy. You're building something that will become yours. Um, as we sit, we're recording this, and it's middle of September in 2023. I don't know when somebody's going to be listening to this. What's next? What can I get you to share? I don't know if there is anything, but I'm not trying to put you too much on the spot, but what's next? What do you guys, I mean, you kind of said you're looking for a music venue, but what else is going on there? I get the feeling you guys are up to something else.
Yeah, no, there's a few things in the works. Like we said, music venue. Always we want to keep expanding on the amusement park, and I think like putt putt has got brought up quite a few times.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, another interesting thing to add to like the arcade and all the like
Yeah.
fun things here. I know different like laser tag, things like that. But I would also say another big one, if the concerts continue, is actually even a hotel that we're thinking about having coming out here. So
Wow. Okay. That's a massive undertaking.
yeah.
That's a massive undertaking. Okay. Let's go about the arcade for a second in the amusement park. So what's your favorite part of that? What do you really like?
I mean, I grew up like as a little kid, like cutting in line because they all knew who I was, like going right up and grabbing like four cotton candies and eating that. And like, luckily my parents and my grandparents, they realized I was cutting in line and having unlimited caramel apples and kettle corn and donuts, that they introduced me to all the employees and then told them, don't let him cut. Don't give him any more of that junk food. Like, stop doing that. Um, so it quickly changed where I was like, what the heck? And then, of course, I was probably like, I'll tell my grandpa on you. And they were probably like, yeah, go ahead. He would probably like,
He's the one that told me to do this. Oh my
So
God.
I don't know if I have like a favorite. I mean,
Do you have a favorite memory of the farm? Like something that when you think back on it, makes you smile?
yeah. So we have these this pedal go-kart track, these little like pedal cars. And I remember as soon as the park closed down, I would immediately like take those out and drive them everywhere in the parking lot, all over. Like I would like we had like this giant slide and I would take that thing down, like everything you weren't supposed to do. And like I'm sure like now looking back, like some of those things have a huge maintenance problems. And I'm sure like I caused some of that where like our maintenance guy was like, how the heck is this like pedal go-kart like so messed up? And I'm sure I might have had something to do with that.
So I really kind of think we need to reevaluate your backstory here. So what you had said was, COVID was happening. Your grandfather needed some help. I don't think that's true. I think your grandfather wanted you to come back and pay off the debt that you caused by damaging things. I think that's the story here. You cost X dollars in cotton candy losses. He kept a running tab on you, man. I think that's, with interest now.
There was even actually a time where now this is a management terrible decision on their part that I'm blaming them, but so I always worked in the summer too. I didn't get to just play. So I remember like being at 8 years old, we have like the U-pick fields,
right,
and I would be the cash register. So I'd weigh the berries and then charge the people. Well, they once put me in charge of the donut hut. And it was I remember them saying they came out to a line that was like 50 people long, and they're like, what the heck? And they go in there, and apparently I was taking a break and just eating donuts. They said I probably had like 8 donuts in my hand, just eating donuts. And I'm like, you put an 8-year-old in charge of like doing the cash register for donut. The management decision, horrible on their part. Like so I've never worked the donut hut since I would have been 8 years old or whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that story. I really, after talking to you on the phone and, in my experiences there as a young dad, I really love what you guys are doing. I think it's really awesome what you're doing. And it's become more of a destination than it was when I was there. And we had somebody who, on the website on Explore Washington State, they wrote an article about you guys recently that we published. It was a pretty small. She went out and spent the day there at the farm and had a great time. And I think that's kind of the general consensus is when you go out there, you have a lot of fun. And I think what you guys are doing is good and good. I think people need to have fun. I think people need to go out to a place that's family friendly and entertaining, and that doesn't mean it has to be boring. It can be fun, and it should be fun. And if you guys are going to bring out live music, I think I love that personally. I think that's awesome. And I can give you a list of bands you should have out there.
I love it.
Now, the future for you, what do you, break out your crystal ball. What does your future look like? Because I'm looking at you and I only know that you're in your 20s because you graduated from college. Okay. And that you played basketball in college. So I know you weren't just you might've been your class valedictorian and graduated at 12. No, you played college basketball. So I know you're in your mid to late 20s. That's about all I can guess. But looking at your face, I would probably card you if you were driving a car. I'd ask you for like, kid, are you really 16? Because you've got a baby face, man. But break out the crystal ball. Mm-hmm. What do you want? What's exciting for you? What's the horizon look like for you?
Yeah. Well, first the answer, I am 28. I know it might not look it, but
no. Honestly, if somebody would have introduced me to you, right, in a context and that said, "Hi, this is Nathan," I'm like, "Hey, Nathan, how old is Nathan?" I'd honestly probably 18, maybe 20. You've got a baby face, man. Good on you. I'm not, good on you, but 28. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're 28 years old. You're a farmer with an MBA. That's a pretty cool story. What's the next chapter is going to look like to you? What do you want them to look like?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I think continuing exactly what I'm doing with the farm, keep growing that. It's definitely the top of that list. But like I said, we want to keep expanding hotels maybe on the horizon, different things like that. And I've actually always now I don't know how I kind of like politics in a sort. I don't know, maybe heading that way.
Okay.
I've always had an interest for it. I don't know why.
Because you were interested in stocks in middle school, man. It kind of makes sense that you're also into politics. Seriously. I'm not shocked by that answer. I'm not shocked by that. That kind of seems like I could see that story. I can see you doing that. Okay. I asked my guests a bunch of questions, and I'm going to ask you a couple of these questions, and you can't answer your farm. Okay. I'm going to, and we can come back, but I'm going to give you but we're going to come back and revisit it one more. I'll give you a variation. Okay. So number one, I love coffee. Where's a great place to get coffee that you would recommend?
Well, I'm actually probably the worst person to ask for that because I don't drink coffee and never have in my life.
Okay. I'm just kidding. What have you heard? So do you live in the Carnation area?
I do. I do.
So what have you heard? You're paying attention to what's going on in your community.
Oh yeah.
And I can give you an easy answer. There's a Starbucks in Carnation.
Oh, there is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's popular.
you can that's your get out of jail free one. But outside of that one, what have you seen that's popular in the Carnation area?
Yeah, there's a little shop. It's called Sandy's Espresso. People line up right there.
Okay.
So no, you're 100% right. There is a Starbucks, and that of course always has a line because Starbucks sells addicting coffee or something. I don't drink it, but people are lined up there. But I would say for the cute mom and pop shop that I know does a great job, Sandy's Espresso.
All right. I'm going to come over and visit. And I'm going to get there around lunchtime. Okay. There's a great place for lunch in the area.
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm going to say the farm,
no,
but
you can't. We'll come back. I'll give you like a debate. I'll give you 2 minutes on the other side, but you got to tell me someplace else too.
Yeah. So we have a few options. We don't have a lot. We're a small town, right. But if you like Hispanic food, we have Ixtapa. Great people, great food. People love it there.
What would you recommend there?
Depends on what people like.
No, you. What are you going to eat? You and I are going to go grab lunch. We're going to go there. What are you ordering?
I'm either getting like shrimp tacos or like a taco salad.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But no coffee.
No coffee. Trust me, there's so many business meetings that I've gone to where people are like, let's meet at this local Starbucks at whatever 6, 7 a.m. I have to always get there like 15, 20 minutes early and go and order a hot chocolate. So at least I have something in my hand, and then they think I have a coffee in my hand. So I don't look like a kid holding a hot chocolate in his hand.
Well, I mean, you kind of just made a kid reference there. I'm sorry, you're having hot chocolate. Okay, no, that's teasing you. All right. All right. So Ixtapa. All right. Yep. Now, in the effort, if I were coming over to Carnation, we were meeting for lunch, we'd probably go to lunch at is the Remlinger Farms, is the restaurant open for lunch?
Yep.
All right. Yep. What's your go-to meal there? Yours.
Yeah, mine. I mean, I switch up all the time, but
donuts.
We actually have a great like Reuben sandwich that I love having. So either that or like this pesto chicken sandwich we have. Those are probably my two favorite.
Okay. All right. Do you guys serve coffee at the farm?
We do. We actually recently like partnered with Cafe D'Arte, and so yeah, a lot of people know that, and so we actually are now doing really great coffee. People are telling me, and so
why don't you drink coffee? What's the? I mean, you're a Washingtonian. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah,
you've never tried coffee?
I think I had like one sip of it when like in 6th grade and didn't like it, but it's actually not that reason. It's my whole family is they claim they are not addicted to coffee. I 100% think they are. And so I've just seen my whole family, so many people that they have to have coffee every morning. Otherwise they can't even function. They're like upset all day until they had their coffee. I never wanted that. So I made it my goal to never do that. And also there is a financial part. Again, we're going back to my nerd self. When I go to a restaurant, I can't remember the last time I ever ordered a fountain drink. I only get water. And it's because I looked up like stats of how much people spend per year on like coffee and soda. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I didn't buy coffee or soda, it's like $4,000 a year that I could be saving and then putting into stocks. And that $4,000 could compound interest over the next 30 years. And I would have this much money. So
I don't know how to respond to that. No, I'm just kidding. That's great. That's a great reason, man. That's a great reason. All right. I have 2 questions for you. We're going to wrap this up with 2 questions. I'll let you pick. I can give you my question that I ask every guest, or I can ask you the question of what didn't I ask you that I should have? Which one do you want to answer first?
Let's go with your question, like what you ask every guest.
All right. I want you to, it's a simple question, but you have to answer the entire question. Okay.
Okay.
Cake or pie, and why?
I have to go pie. And it's also because Remlinger Farms, we sell pie all over the West Coast. So I think if I didn't say that answer, I don't know if my grandfather would actually like.
Oh, he is it okay. Really though? Okay, pie. That's a great why. Do you like cake?
I do. I love cake.
Okay. All right. So your last meal on earth, grandpa can't, I mean, are you going to pick cake or pie?
Oh,
and there's no wrong answer here. I mean, no, there is no wrong answer, but
yeah.
So cake or pie?
Well, it would be pie because there's one pie. It's called the caramel apple pie. And I love caramel apples, and it tastes like every time I'm biting into it, a caramel apple.
So caramel apple pie. That was the next part of it, is what would be the okay. So you pick pie, caramel apple pie.
Yep.
Solid. Very solid. All right. As we wrap this up, what didn't I ask you that I should have?
I guess people always ask, like, because exactly like you said, they came when they were 20 years ago, back when they were a kid, or they had little kids to come to. And so many people ask, like, well, what's changed? Like, you have a brewery, like things like that. So I always tell them, like, that was one of the things I really wanted, was to change the kind of atmosphere, not change it, but add to it. We still have the theme park. Yes, there's tons of rides for like the little kids, but like 10 and under, that's their first time going to amusement park. And so many parents come here before they ever go to Disneyland, because it's like the practice when they're like 6 years old to get ready for Disneyland. But we now like add the arcade, a zip line, some bigger rides, so that it's now up to like 16 and they would still like it. And then now my age, if you don't have kids and you don't really want to go to an amusement park, there's a whole brewery and things like that, and a distillery that now you can enjoy.
Did you just say distillery?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention.
How did we wait? Yeah, stop. How did we not touch on distillery? Not to sound like a raging alcoholic, no, because I'm not. But distillery too.
We actually, that's another thing I just started. I actually finally got the TTB federal permits for the distillery. We're finishing up the state permits, and we're going to start distilling, and we're going to do vodka and whiskey here on the farm, and we're going to make it our own.
Why? I know the technical answers that most people would give me, but I'm going to ask you for the answer. Why vodka and why whiskey?
Yeah. So whiskey, it's something that our brewer really wanted to do. It's popular. It really works well with like beer that we don't sell. We can actually use it in our whiskey production, so we don't have to waste anything. And then vodka, basically because we're able to infuse it with all of our fruits that we do here, like our blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. So we really want something like that has that farm like flavor to it, of all the fruits and stuff we do. And vodka is an easy way to basically have a vodka raspberry flavored drink. And so, yeah.
When, you're working through permits, but what's your launch date to start production for that?
Yeah, we're hoping early next year. Like I would say around like March is probably when we're going to hopefully be launching, and it'll probably take a few months, and then we'll start like actually producing batches, and then you'll probably see them. Of course, that has to age, and we might do one that comes off within a year, but the other ones might take 3 to 5 years.
Well, the vodka will be ready
right away,
quicker. Yeah, that's a lot of reason distilleries start off with vodkas and gin, is because they can start to sell the product to recoup some of that cost, where whiskeys and others have to age, or typically should age. Okay. What else? What else? So I'm glad I asked that question because we would have overlooked that. That's cool. What else did we not talk about?
No, we kind of covered it. I guess the brewery, we like I was saying with the activities, we have the brewery. We also do live music with local musicians and bands in our brewery. It's every Friday, Saturday, and we're starting to do every Sunday from about 6 p.m. to about 8, 9 p.m.
Okay.
And that's been a huge success. And now it's been amazing because these local artists that they've only, like, this is their second or third gig they've ever done. I now see them like in other places. Like I go to a bar over in Issaquah and I'm like, hey, it's the band that like they played with us, and they're immediately like, yeah, I went to your place, played, and someone heard me, and now I'm playing here, and I have like 4 more gigs booked. So
that's awesome.
We do local musicians, and it's been an amazing like turnout, and we've really liked it.
All right. We'll put links in the show notes to people where people can find you online, but why don't you say that out loud here? Where's a good place for people to find out more about Remlinger Farms online?
Yeah, you can go right to our website, remlingerfarms.com, or our social media. Both we have an Instagram and Facebook that are very popular. So just Remlinger Farms and you'll find us.
No TikTok? You guys aren't out on TikTok? I'm kidding.
We do. My wife, actually, she started the TikTok and she made a few. And one of them actually got a pretty good amount of traction. We have like these caramel apple slushies, and we also did like part where like our pie production facility, she recorded that, so that it actually got quite a bit of views.
Caramel apple slushies.
Yeah,
that was your cue to expand on caramel apple slushies. Sorry, just kidding. What? That's an intriguing. I'm kind of scratching my head, if you will. Walk me through a caramel apple slushie.
Yeah, so basically it's a caramel like cider mixture, like slushy cider mixture, and we basically go over the top with dripping caramel all over it. We stick a caramel apple in it. Like it's this whole drink, and it's a huge success for the social media. Like people buy this thing and they take a picture with this like dripping caramel huge drink. We also do it in the summertime. We do like a strawberry smoothie. There's frosting and sprinkles and like a huge Rice Krispie treat we put in the strawberry one as well. Like those have been huge hits on social media.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to come out to the farm. It sounds like I'm missing out on some things here that I need to check out. You got me with the caramel apple slush. I think that's like, I gotta check that one out.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan, thank you very much for your time. I enjoyed this. Was kind of cool. What we didn't cover, and I'm going to bring it up. I told you I wouldn't, but I lied at the very end. I told you I looked up your college stats. and folks, I'm going to lay it out this way. Nathan scored 3 points in his college career. That was per ESPN, and he's shaking his head no. So I need, okay. I want to hear your explanation of why you think ESPN has you down for 3 points. I think, but, and then let's talk about your college basketball career to wrap this up.
Yeah, no. So a lot of people, they don't get mentioned on ESPN, and especially like I played at a Division III school for basketball, but I think it was in high school I won the AAU National Sullivan Award. So you had to like be an elite athlete, and then at the same time have like tons of community service. Like you had to have great grades so that like being valedictorian 4.0. I kind of qualified and ended up winning it for the whole country. And so ESPN, they flew me out to Disney World in Florida, and I got to go on the ESPN Center, talk to all them. And then it was all paid for me and my family, like 5 days, like it was amazing. So I think winning that award, they were like, oh, let's check up on him his freshman year of college. And I think they saw one game where I must have got in for 5 minutes and
it was
put up one shot, made a three. I obviously you said went 1 for 2.
1 for 2, and you said 3 points. So you either got fouled, but I didn't look at the free throws, so I think it was a 3-pointer.
Then they probably forgot to ever update that over, because I was there for freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and had a great ending to my college. So yeah, I scored more than 3 in the season.
So what did you average as a senior? What'd you average?
Oh, I think it was probably 10 points about 10 points there. Right. What I averaged. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other thing you didn't share this time that you shared when you kind of told me the first time is that Peyton Manning won this award as well as a high school kid.
Yeah. So he won the National Sullivan. There's a few actually. I want to say, who else was there? There was a few. Yeah. Peyton Manning was one of them that won the National AAU Sullivan Award. There's a few great female athletes too. Male athletes. Now you're making me have to go back and look. Yeah,
you need to go back and research that. That's cool though. Good on you. And you know, so I just think your story is really, really cool, and I'm glad we got to sit down and talk today. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome. I can't thank you enough.
Hope you enjoyed the show. You can reach me on Twitter at ExploreWaState. I'd love to hear your comments. You can also visit our website at explorewashingtonstate.com. If you know anyone who would like the show, it'd be amazing if you'd share the show with them. This is the biggest way that we grow this show. Good old word of mouth. Glad you were here with me today, and I hope to have you listening to the next episode. See you then.